If team collaboration feels like cooking a meal with too many chefs, and everyone keeps adding ingredients without a recipe, discover how Wave keeps your projects organized, turning chaos into coordination. Get the perfect recipe for success with Wave. Collaborate smarter today.
It's tricky. It's tricky to really get that brand's feeling in such a short amount of time and to also kind of tell a story. Usually, most of my videos aren't like infomercials, like this is our product and it does this. It's more metaphorical. So, more of like a miniature story kind of representing different concepts that they want their audience to understand about them. Uh,
Today on the podcast, we're joined by Brandon Falk, a creative force in short form video advertising and digital content creation. With a strong foundation in both traditional and digital filmmaking, Brandon specializes in creating 15-second ad campaigns that maintain consistent brand identity while driving engagement and growth. So if this is something that interests you guys, tune in because this is going to be fun for me. I'm excited. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
All right, welcome to the show.
Excited to.
This is like I think our 27th episode, and I'm absolutely excited with Wheel 3 out and people going crazy with Wheel 3. So I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, there's so many different tools and they each kind of have their own like strengths and weaknesses. So it's interesting to see how each one will evolve and then the other one will be like, "Oh, we got to do something cool too." So it's nice competition to see everything just keeps getting better in different ways.
Absolutely, and I think where I'm at right now, the key is to figure out what tool does what, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Once
because
you figure that
and a lot
out.
of tools will kind of claim like that they can do this thing or they can do that thing, but it's hard to know which one is actually going to be best for your use case. And it also depends on your style, right? Like I think most of the videos I've seen, or a lot of them, are going for more of that realism style, right? Like photo realism. But if you're going for something else, it might be a different model than what everybody's going crazy over. Like if you're going for like more of like a stop motion look or more of an animated look. There might be one program that works better with more of an animated look than realism look. So it's kind of interesting to see.
All right. So with that, let's start with the first question. All right. So you
Yeah,
specialize in 15-second ad count campaigns, but how do you ensure
right.
brand identity and storytelling remain clear and compelling in such a short format?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky to really get that brand's feeling in such a short amount of time and to also kind of tell a story. Usually, most of my videos aren't like infomercials, like this is our product and it does this. It's more metaphorical. So, more of like a miniature story kind of representing different concepts that they want their audience to understand about them. Um, so a part of it is deciding on like a vibe, like the sound and the music and the style, and then kind of trying to stay consistent with those. So with some of my clients, I'll do one or two videos, but ideally I can work with clients that want more of a campaign because then we have a lot more of an opportunity to build that brand vibe over time and to kind of dive deeper and deeper and deeper into it so that when people hear the music or they see that kind of visual style that might be different than what other people are doing, they'll associate it with that brand. So a lot of what I'm doing is more, I would say, brand recognition than like specific like product detail explanation or like one-time conversion. It's more, most of my stuff is trying to build brand recognition over time with campaigns.
But you just blew my mind. Okay, I thought you were gonna go on. Oh, that was amazing. Okay. All right. Let's break it down. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So, with the
Okay,
rise of AI enhanced content tools, like we were discussing just a
sure.
short while before,
Mhm.
how has your creative process evolved over the last few years? So let's start from I guess let's start from somewhere along the lines of before VO3. Let's talk about VO2 and around that time.
I mean, To be honest, I haven't been using VO3. I've been using a lot of other tools. So at first, when I started off, I was mainly doing some image generation, and one of the first platforms I worked with was Rubber Band, which was a fun one because it's they've changed their model a lot as everyone has as things have progressed. Like 1 month feels like a year, and so everything changes so fast. But
Yeah.
initially, it was more like a node-based structure, kind of like what you would see in Comfy, or if you use editing software like in DaVinci Resolve and Fusion. So where you've got like one node going to another one, and you're controlling different things with each one. And so that was really fun to be able to kind of create a workflow, but in a browser. So not having to download a ton of stuff on my computer and then try out different models to create the images. So that's how I initially kind of got into it. And I was just trying to lean into consistent styles visually because that was a tricky thing at that stage. This was probably about a year ago. But to get like a kind of like an art collection. So I would do, like this pen and ink style, and then I would try and get several different images to look like they would fit into a collection. So that consistency was kind of what I was starting off with. And then also kind of doing one-offs here and there for trying to do special effects for indie films to just be like, oh, it'd be cool if there was a spaceship here. I wonder if I could generate that with one of these tools. Um, so that was kind of the initial interaction I had with AI. Really, I just wanted to make things that I could use in indie films. I thought, oh, wouldn't it be neat if I could add an extra character that's an AI character, like a dragon or something like that, like a tortoise dragon. So but it wasn't really there yet. As far as being able to really add an actual character, I might be able to add like a droid in the background or something like that. But even then, like the animation, I was doing more with traditional editing software like DaVinci. Like I might make the image of the speed racer, but then just have it way in the background, kind of blurred out, and just kind of move it manually, like in the editing software. So the animation has come a long way. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and being able to use honestly one of the coolest things, one of the coolest updates I've seen lately in the AI was Midjourney doing their video model because I hadn't made a lot of images with them initially, but later when I started to do more consistent commercials and I needed more consistency in my characters, I finally went the Midjourney route. I was doing a bunch of different Comfy stuff, and you can do a lot with Comfy too if you've got
Absolutely.
the computer power or if you're using like a cloud-based server like Think to Fusion or something like that, which I still do sometimes. But when I was trying to crank out more commercials with consistency, I started using Midjourney. So then when they implemented video within their platform, that was just like so much, and it worked well. That was so fast. I could just generate my image, animate it, good to go.
I
So that
agree.
cuts out the extra step.
I
Yeah.
agree. I believe in a one per platform model. You really have to bring everything into one platform. Because I'm getting confused. I have to make notes around my workspace, that this tool does that, this tool does that. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I think people have wanted that for a while, and I think a lot of people have been trying for that, but the problem is like not everyone is great at specializing at everything, right? Like which makes sense. So like when the video model would try to make pictures, it wouldn't always work out as well. Because I would try that too. I'd be like, well, this video model's doing pictures now. Cool, let me try it. But it wasn't
All right, let's continue. So after that little episode, let's talk about
quite.
what are the most common misconceptions brands have when they're approaching short form video content.
Sure. I mean, every company is different, every client is different. But I would say one danger can be, especially with all of the posts you see online, that people might start to think, oh, it should be able to be done exactly how I want and as quickly as I want. So clients may want a product very quick for very cheap, and it might not be as easy to execute as it seems from what they've seen online. So that can be kind of tricky. Also, there's advantages and disadvantages to working with AI, right? Um, when you're using traditional assets, like if you're doing a digital film and they want like an animated, cartoon or film or advertisement, and they want a slight change here or there, that could be really easy to do. You're just like, oh, okay, I'll just move my character that way. But with AI, if they want the same scene but a slight change, that could be really challenging to replicate again because you do have a lot more and more control now, but there's still a roll of the dice element to it. So sometimes you get something that's just beautiful, and you're like, yes, this is the one.
Mhm.
And that's great if everyone on the team wants that. But if someone on the team or in the client's, team says, well, that was good, we want it that way, but we want it, this little part to be different. There's still a lot of limitations there, even with as incredible as it is. So that balance of control and speed, sometimes it can seem like there's more of that than there really is, especially by what like a lot of people post. Like I feel like online there could be a lot more balance. There's a lot of hype and there's a lot of hate, right? There's a lot of people that are like AI is trash, it can't do anything, and then there's a lot of people that are like AI can do everything. Everyone's gonna lose their jobs tomorrow to me. Um, I think I think there are some people that ride the middle, but I think yeah, I think either one of those is kind of detrimental. I feel like and they can cause a lot of misconceptions for clients and customers because they may think, well, we don't want to mess with AI if it's trash, or oh sweet, give me that AI film tomorrow but make it exactly the way I have my vision. So
I
yeah, but
agree
then again,
with
you could
everything.
also yeah, but if you could find uh clients that kind of understand the balance, then you can have a really good partnership and come up with some really great commercials for the price. If there's an understanding and some flexibility with the creativity. My best clients, I feel like, will agree on a visual style, will agree on a voice, will agree on a script. And then after that, I kind of take it creatively with the visuals and come up with visuals that would match the voiceover basically. So the script isn't as much the detailed visuals, it's more what's going to be said. And then I usually get free reign over how to visually represent that. And those are the I feel like those have been the best projects I've worked on. Because then I have a lot of room to pivot as needed. And I mean, that's not new to AI. A lot of creatives have been pivoting as they make their projects. We were just watching this, it was like a short interview with this lady. She was a book illustrator, and she was talking about how it's kind of like a cycle for her. She'll start her process, and then by the end of it, she'll be like, maybe I want to start it all over this way now that I see how I like this end better. Um, and if you have a client that's more flexible about the visuals, then you can really continue to do that. Whatever medium you're doing. With me, it's AI tools, which it's even more important, I feel like, to have a little bit of flexibility there, because of the limitations, and control, and and sometimes the beautiful surprises, you know?
Exactly. You know, I mean, if you want to impress a client, why don't you think of him as the customer, go in blind, watch his reaction, and if his reaction is pure enough to think of the ad as gold, the customer is going to react the same way, right?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
That's another angle.
sometimes
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it's a bit more complicated, depending on what company you're working with. For me, it's been easiest to work with companies that have a smaller team, and so where like I can work directly with the ultimate decision maker, and then they could say yes. But sometimes, when you get to bigger projects or larger companies, there may be multiple people that have to approve it. And that's where it can get really complicated, especially if it's difficult to change a little thing. And then you kind of almost have to redo the whole shot because it's not easy to just replicate that. Yeah.
You can't just change one thing. It's a domino effect, right? It's gonna ruin everything in the whole principle. Anyway, let's move on. This is a whole
Yeah,
chaotic episode that we're talking about. Anyway, okay.
yeah,
So you've worked across both traditional and digital filmmaking, right? So
yes.
how do both of these worlds complement each other in your current commercial work?
Yeah, I would say most of my commercials now, I'm primarily using just the digital tools. Like I'm not usually busting out my camera. Um, But that experience helps a lot with the commercials I'm making. And then if I did want to go back and do a more traditional video, some of the cleanup tools would be really helpful with AI or even some visual effects, which is why I originally got into it. Like I said, I wanted to do some cool VFX with my indie films. Um, but
I have a
even just cleaning
question.
up the audio,
What
yeah,
indie
go
film
ahead.
are you talking about?
I've got a bunch. I've made a bunch of different indie
No,
films
no. Well,
over the
what's your
years.
inspiration?
For the visual effects,
Yes.
I didn't necessarily have like a specific one in mind. I just thought, oh, this would be fun to try out. The idea I was gonna try was gonna be I was just gonna set up my camera in the backyard and have me walk up kind of to a blank wall and start a conversation. But then I was gonna superimpose like a tortoise dragon in there that would be talking
Oh,
with me, and we'd
wow.
have a conversation back and forth. Um,
Wow.
which now I think would be possible. I think I could probably pull it off, although a lot of the like the act ones, a lot of the facial recognition ones, it has to be able to clearly detect a face. So you have to be careful if you're using an animal or a creature that it can actually detect that that's a face. Otherwise, it can be hard to drive their performance. But people
Absolutely.
have different tools, like cats. They said like if you put a hat on them or glasses, that it can more like easily see like, oh, this is a face.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I still remember my first attempt at let's say a trailer was
Mhm.
the problem that we faced was character consistency across the scenes, right?
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
problem. Now we worked back, looked at our reference video, went to the behind the scenes footage, and found that there was a Hollywood actor. His face was CGI'd onto the film. And I was like, okay,
Oh.
what are we competing against? Let's just move ahead.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Brandon, we're gonna move on. So,
Okay.
I want to know now, and the audience wants to know that what unique challenges do you face when creating content specifically for platforms that are going viral, like TikTok or Instagram Reels, or perhaps YouTube Shorts, or even LinkedIn Video for now?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm best positioned to answer this based on the work that I've done. I've mainly made content to build brand awareness over time. For primarily LinkedIn, some YouTube, sometimes people want it because for like their pitch videos, maybe they're starting up company and they want to use it in their pitch deck while they're pitching to investors to kind of explain the product or get the feeling across. So my expertise hasn't been as much as like viral content that just goes wild on TikTok. It's been more over time brand consistency to, especially like also if someone wants something on their website, like this is kind of what represents us, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, okay, I get it. I get it. All right. So you're not aiming for the viral, but you're aiming for the long-term goal here. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, if one of them goes viral, that's great, and then maybe they'll watch the other ones. But yeah, most of them, the idea is kind of like consistent customer-facing representation of the brand.
And perhaps brand recall at some point in the future.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're merging AI with ad agencies. So, all right, I get it. I get the whole
Yes.
point. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So working remotely requires a lot of discipline, and I totally
Yes.
agree. But what systems or habits help you manage deadlines and stay creatively energized? And we have a writer's block
Oof.
in video creation as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. Um, all of that is tough. Staying focused when you're working remotely is very challenging. I feel like it takes more energy than if you're at an office to be like, okay, I really am gonna focus now and do the work. There are benefits when you're working remotely, but right now I'm doing both. So I have an internship with a media company and I go into the office and I do that. And then that's 30 hours a week. And then when I'm not doing that, if I have time to work, I can work on the videos at home.
Okay.
And so that's been a good balance for me because I was trying to go 100% on the video business. And that was pretty challenging because there was a lot of pressure to constantly be finding the clients and make sure the clients, like I do everything we need to do all the time to make sure that they're happy. So it felt a little bit more difficult to set the boundaries because I was so dependent. Whereas if there's a little bit of flexibility, if I have income from the internship and then I also have incomes from the clients, it's easier to set my hard boundaries of like, okay, well, this is, I require a week's time to do this. This is what we need up front. That's easier to have a little bit more structure to make it uh, a better experience. Yeah.
Okay. I get the balance. Like, oh, you're working from home, you have an office schedule, so
Yeah.
that's keeping the
Yeah.
you on point. I get that. But I'm bringing my work home from the office, so I get the feeling, right? And when you bring
Yeah.
when you bring work home and you actually like the work you're doing, you end up doing 18-hour shifts at home because you actually like what you're
Yeah.
doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it could be tricky to keep that balance and to, like you said, to keep your creative energy going. Sometimes it helps to just mix it up. So like for me, if I have multiple clients and one of them's a little bit easier for me to brainstorm, sometimes it's good for me to take a break from one and then just go and work on the other one and get a win. If you can get a success, that helps motivate you to do more later. But if you just keep banging your head against the wall with something, it can be difficult to stay motivated. So if you have that flexibility to switch between projects and maybe do one that kind of pumps you up, gets you enough of momentum to jump into the more challenging one, that can be good.
Yes, that should keep the ball rolling. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
That like
And then
success.
yeah, and then if I could throw one more thing in there, I would just say like getting inspired by other things.
Hmm.
Um, so if I see too many AI videos, I get really burnt out on it. I'm like, I'm over it. I don't want to watch anymore. I don't want to make anymore. I'm tired of it. So it's good to break it up. Like go get inspired by something else. Go listen to a really good song and dance, or go walk outside and see some nature and observe something really interesting. I feel like it's important to pull your inspiration from a lot of different places.
I absolutely agree with you, and I would say like open your imagination, like read a book,
Yeah,
imagine. I
yeah,
think you really need to reel back from all of those blue hues from ChatGPT and those
right.
hallucinated faces. It gets so annoying.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta take a break and you gotta reconnect with feelings and imagination. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on, Brandon, how do you stay ahead of rapidly shifting trends, which is a daily thing, I guess, uh, while
It
producing your
is.
content and keeping
Yeah,
yourself brand relevant and original?
sure. I don't stay ahead. I'm not on
Oh,
I'm not on the cutting edge.
yeah.
Sometimes if I have extra time and I've wrapped up my projects, I can take some time to explore and tinker and experiment and enter this competition. But for me, that can't be the priority. The priority has to be the consistent storytelling, not did I show off this cool new feature. Now, if I see something and I'm like, oh, that feature is gonna help me, then I'll try it out if I can. If it's not expensive and it fits into my already like going workflow and business plan. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't need to be the first one to try every single new feature. Someone else is going to do that. They're going to put a comparison video out, and I can just watch that.
Yeah.
So I don't, for me, that's not my role. I'm not the pioneer educator on LinkedIn being like, this is the amazing top 5 new tools you have to hear about today that weren't here yesterday. Like someone else can do that. They can tell me, and then I can use it to tell better stories for my clients. The story has to come across. But I feel like even what, 10 months ago when I was maybe, no, maybe 9 months ago when the technology was way worse, I was already telling brand consistent stories. They weren't as lively, but it was still getting the emotion and the idea across. Um, so like now I will implement the new tools as I can, and now they're a little bit more fancy, they're a little bit more fluid, but it's still the same core
Mm.
ingredients. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. You shouldn't be shifting your mind with the day. You should at least give yourself some room to discover the thing that you did discover and then move
Hmm.
on. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Okay. So moving on, how do you strike the right balance between creative freedom and meeting brand guidelines, the age-old problem, or even campaign
Yeah.
goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is finding the right fit for you as far as the client and what you want to be doing, how much freedom you want slash need, and how much structure you want slash need, and how that fits with how many clients and what the budget is. Because I think, at least my experience has been, if you need really big clients with really big budgets, you're probably going to have less creative freedom. Um, Not always. It doesn't always correlate, but just like that, going back to that thing of having multiple people on the team with multiple inputs, maybe you have creative freedom initially, but there's going to be a lot of revisions needed to be done most of the time with a big team. Not always, but that's kind of been my experience. So I think setting the expectations up and the structure at the beginning with your client and kind of understanding if it's going to be a good fit and then moving forward from there. So like for me, with my current system and most of my clients, I would say it's basically they might have a loose idea of the visuals, we might agree on the style, but after we lock in the voiceover script, most of the time I can then have creativity with how that's visualized. And so that's kind of the balance we've struck. But in certain cases, uh, the client might need a specific product placed in there in a certain way. And so then you just kind of have to balance that of, okay, can we still tell the story while executing this specific thing they asked for? And you should be able to, I think. But it's less dictated line by line. Then this kind of girl has to pick up this kind of thing and place it in this kind of room. And it might be more of a general, like, we're going for this audience and we want to represent this kind of target audience. And then you just run with it. But a lot of that is yeah, finding a client that fits, because every client's different, and setting those expectations at the beginning.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. But I want to ask you a question in the middle. Has there ever been a client, since you're looking for the perfect client, has there ever been a client who actually didn't give you a revision on the first, let's say, presentation?
Maybe not the first, but that's when I want the revision. Like especially if we're doing a campaign, we want a bunch of revisions on the first one. That way we can get on the same
Drawing in
page
mind.
of like what they like. What we don't want is a bunch of revisions on the third one. Because hopefully at that point we're on the same page as to what we're doing and we can just go. So I would say like my best clients, we might take a while on the first one and kind of lock it in. And then after that, they could provide me with, multiple scripts of the voiceovers that they want, and then I can just run with it. And there may be one or two tweaks here or there, but it's not like, oh, you know what? Actually, I wanted to go with this script instead. It's just we're just moving forward because we've already kind of locked into our our plan.
Hmm.
So yeah, you want the revisions on the first one, not on the third one.
I think there should be a way. I just had a light bulb moment. Okay, where we should have a
Mhm.
way so we can revert back to the changes that were approved in the first place, right? and we can start building from there. I think that
Yeah.
that that should be an option. That should be like a one button option.
Yeah. What do you mean by revert back to the changes that were in the first one?
All right, let's say we have a mood board and we animated the mood board for the first presentation. It was approved.
Sure.
We moved on to the second one. We really added some features into the second one. That one was approved too. We moved on to the third one and they didn't like it. Now we want to revert back to the second one and start working way towards their vision. So we just press one
Hmm.
button and we're back to the save that was on a particular date.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's definitely part of my work process, I guess, because I use traditional editing software.
Mhm.
So part of my work process is initially I set up the shot, so I get my images for each scene,
Mhm.
and I'll usually, if I'm sticking organized, I'll save those. Like they say in the starting images for scene one A, scene two, scene three, whatever, and then I'll go in and I'll animate those and I'll have to animate them a bunch of times to get the take that I want. And then I'll save the good ones and I'll label those as well. And so then I'll pull all of those into my timeline and I'll save that first draft. And then if there's any revisions, I'll save it, as the second draft. So that, yeah, if I, and sometimes I do have to go back because maybe, one person has said, oh, we need to keep pushing it. We need to keep taking it more extreme. But then when it gets to the final client, they say, no, we want something a little less intense. So I say, well, what about version two that we made? And then we can jump back to that because I already have it saved in my timeline in DaVinci. So, yeah.
Cool. So like that actually exists. Okay. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
All all right. Okay. So moving on, Brandon, let's talk about from
Mhm.
your experience, what defines a successful short form video campaign nowadays and beyond surface level metrics like just views and shares or something along that line.
Yeah, that is it's hard to measure, I think. I'm sure someone's come up with a way. But like overall brand recognition, and less so like direct sales or direct shares. I mean you can kind of measure, how many times it was seen and how many times it was shared. Like that does give you a pretty good indicator of how much people are interacting with it. But that may not be your only outlet. Like I was saying, some of the videos I do, they might want to use it on their website itself. And so then I mean, they could track that on their website, but that would be kind of a separate statistic to be looking at, a different piece of data. Um, Also, I don't know if you've heard the term "all news is good news,"
Yeah.
or "all press is good press" or whatever. Because like even if you're in the news for doing something terrible, at least
Yeah.
people know about you. I don't know. I feel like if you're a brand, maybe not. Maybe
You know what?
maybe
You
it's
know the things that
better.
are going viral nowadays, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like maybe it's not always worth it to be the most shared video if it doesn't really represent the core of what you want to represent. So I
Absolutely.
would say like not only how many people are seeing it, but how many people are really understanding the message of who you are.
Absolutely. Like perhaps a way to measure what comments the or engagements the videos are receiving, or perhaps let's measure the success of this campaign as opposed to a later campaign or one that was previous. I guess makes a little sense.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, viewing definitely plays a big factor,
Absolutely.
but if a lot of people see it but they don't resonate with you, then it doesn't
Yeah.
really help your brand.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to the last question. I might add
Okay.
a few, I don't know, but right
Okay.
now, okay,
Okay.
right now this is our last question. So looking ahead,
Okay.
where do you see short form content evolving, especially as AI reshapes both production and viewer behavior?
I don't know. Um, hopefully, hopefully it just gets a little bit more creative. But still respects the core of storytelling. Um, like so, it's easy to be flashy,
Yeah.
which is fine if there's substance there. Um, uh, but I would rather substance with less flashiness. But I feel like one thing, people that are big fans of AI, one thing I've heard them say is that it democratizes, and that now people that didn't necessarily have as many tools or as many resources can still get their vision across. I think that might be true to some extent. I mean, to some extent. I mean, not all the tools are free. So I don't
Yeah.
know that it completely like democratizes. Um, and
And we don't
yeah,
know
there's
how much they're going to cost in the future. There may not be a free tier in the future. I mean, if you've watched Black
I
Mirror,
don't yeah, I don't know. So, but also like it could be tricky because if there's so much content out there and you're flooded with so much, then it's hard to really know what to look at. So I think curation is going to be more and more important as people are able to just put stuff out with no kind of gatekeeper. Like there's a pro and con to that, right? Like the positive is that like sweet, now this person can tell the story they wanted to tell. That's awesome. The negative is that like who's going to watch it? Like if there's, 3 million videos and 1 million people on the platform to look at them, who's going to have the time to see the thing they want to see? Who's going to curate it? Um, and so I think that's kind of the tricky part now is
moderation.
yeah, we're all inspired to make things, which is fun, but yeah, who are we making them for? And if we're making them for ourselves and our family and our friends and we're content to show them and they enjoy them, then that's great. But if you're making it and you're expecting everyone in the world to see it, but everyone in the world is also making a video, then it can get kind of tricky.
Mm.
So
Absolutely.
I think, yeah, so I think that's going to be, I don't know if I want to call it a problem, but that's going to be something to figure out moving forward is how do we interact with the content that we want to when there's so much content being released? And who's going to be curating that? Are we going to be curating that? Is it going to be an algorithm? Is there going to be like a service? Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see moving forward, is because I don't think anyone can handle just a flood of content and still be able to find the things that they actually want to be watching.
Brandon, like I said, there's going to be one other question.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just inspired another question.
Okay.
What kind of moderation would you, if you were given the role to have a moderation
hmm
in, let's say, YouTube, for the kind of
hmm
content that a person aspiring to follow your career is
hmm
looking for inspiration. So what kind of moderation, like what kind of videos do you want to see for inspiration?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know that I would say moderation, but like a curated playlist, basically. Is that what you're asking? Kind of
Yes, yes,
like what would it?
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think for like a curated playlist to get them inspired, I would say a lot of things. I would say one, uh dive into watching like some traditional video editing because
Mm,
there's still a lot of value. There is CapCut and there's different tools that can help you kind of cram things together, but I think there's still a lot of value in understanding some traditional editing. I highly recommend, there's this guy named Cassie Ferris on YouTube, and he does a
okay.
lot of DaVinci Resolve tutorials. And DaVinci Resolve is free. They have two tiers. Like you can buy the pro version, but the free version can do a ton of stuff editing wise. That's really incredible what they give you for free. And so I would highly recommend that because even if you're getting good clips, it's useful to know how to piece those together.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, and you could do a lot with that. And a lot of times when you're generating stuff, you'll say, "Oh, maybe I could use the middle 2 seconds of that if it's reverse speed, and I fade it out at just this point." And if you learn some basic stuff in editing software, you can do that really easily. And you can mesh things, or you can even change the color or whatever. Um, to make it look more consistent. So I highly recommend that. Um, I also highly recommend getting inspired by creativity. I like to watch people that freestyle. Or like there's this guy, he walks around New York with this thing strapped to him, like his keyboard and his speakers, and he makes beats like
Wow.
improvised beats. He'll talk to people and he'll say, "What kind of beat do you want?" And then he'll make it for them, and then they'll freestyle,
Wow.
just random people on the street. So that kind of thing to me is inspiring to see people using their creativity in the moment live with people, and that kind of helps fuel my inspiration.
I love how you think, Brandon. Now, you just that example was that painted a picture in my mind.
Awesome.
Thank you for today, Brandon. This podcast was perhaps one of my favorite. Thanks a lot, Brandon.
Excellent. Thank you. You have a good one.
Have a good one, you. Thank you for joining us today,
You're
and um,
welcome.
let's hope that we talk about more things in the future.
Sounds good.
All right.
Take care.
Have a nice one.
All right.